Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com with this week's episode of the Market Monday. I know it's Tuesday, I'm a day late. This actually isn't the video that I wanted to produce. We're going to try to get that out either Wednesday or Thursday. It is a more high production video based around the topic that I'm going to be talking about today with the commander specs now that we have the deck list. I'm trying to woo over a potential sponsor. I had talks with them at GP Vegas, and I kind of want to give a video a representation of what I want to do for them with that video. So be looking forward to that. It's going to take me a while to edit that and produce that. But that's good news if I can pick another sponsor. I have been more excited about the market topic of Magic the Gathering lately than I have actually playing the game. I know Modern and Standard are very healthy right now, and I've had a lot of fun with them, so you can look forward to more Rogue Brews in the near future. I want to pick up some other authors and content producers once I get back in the swing of things. Unfortunately, life has been very hectic with me. I had my grandmother pass away, so I've been to a funeral this last week, as well as been plagued with a nasty sinus infection due to allergies. The pollens must be crazy this year with the strong Utah winter. I've never been so I've never had this dizziness and nausea. I've never had allergies causing dizziness, and I never had it lead to a sinus infection. So anyway, I'm medicated now. Hopefully we can get that taken care of and we can ramp back up production for the channel. So again, I don't want to make excuses, but I just want to let you all know where I've been, and I haven't abandoned you. It's just been incredibly tough this last month to really keep up with the whole YouTube aspect of things, even Magic and whatnot. So yeah, anyway, today's topic I'm going to be talking about is why I'm all in on Marcel the Pretender. I think that this is the commander that is not it's not the focal point of the deck, of the wizard deck, and it doesn't even have a theme to do with tribal. So why do I like this? If you look at the other commanders, they all are very tribal focused, and they're all pretty complete. All the deck lists play, or the decks play, very well out of the box, and then there are a lot of cards that are going to be upgrades. So if you could, I think the boat's already sailed. People really jumped on those specs. For example, if we come over here and we just look at two cards in particular that I think are the two most cards. I think Cats and Vampires are going to be the most popular decks out the gates. So like, for example, if we click on Brimaz here, we can see that the boat is already sailed for Brimaz. This is going to go in every cat deck, so it's already at a double up or close to a double up. And respectively, the Vampire, I knew I should have spec'd in this one just because the flip cards are awkward for commander decks. But nonetheless, we can see a huge spike increase in the Bloodline Keeper. So this is one of the games with finance. Finance isn't as easy as it used to be because there are so many more people in the game. I mean, I'm to blame here. You know, I started a Rogue Market video years ago, and I know I've influenced a lot of people into the MTG finance world, and little by little my niches are being filled by other people, and so we have to adjust. That's the name of the game, is just always be very I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use here, but adaptable. That's the word. So I'm going to pick a commander that takes a lot of cards to build around it. It's actually going to lead to a ton of purchases that aren't just cards. And I think that Mairsil is going to be the most popular commander. It's going to be the Atraxa of this deck, or of this set, just because of how fun it seems compared to the rest of the commanders. It's just tribals. We already have vampire tribals in the past. We already have kind of wizard tribals in the past. Yeah, a lot of people will love these, but and like I said, these decks play quite well out of the box, and it's going to lead to less upgrades than you'll think for those particular showcased commanders. So this one, however, you need to buy a lot of cards that work particular with Marcel the Pretender. And again, it's in Grixis colors, which is a very, very popular color scheme. And this card, let me just read it to you if you can see it on the screen here. It says, when Marcel the Pretender enters the battlefield, you may exile an artifact or a creature card from your hand or graveyard and put a cage counter on it. The Mairsil the Pretender has all activated abilities of all cards you own in exile with cage counters on them. You may activate each of those abilities only once each turn. So you can activate multiple, so it does allow you to do loops with the card, because you can only activate them once per turn, but you can activate each of those more than once per turn. So it requires a lot of cards in your graveyard or hand for the Pretender to exile. The cool thing about this is every time you bounce it, it gets another card. So you're going to want to run cards like the Deadeye Navigator type cards just to continue to bounce it. And I believe you may activate each of these abilities only once per turn. Does it count that if you bounce? We'll have to get a ruling on this, because if you Deadeye Navigator, does it consider Mairsil a new one that hasn't activated that ability? We'll get a judge ruling on that. But however, this card reminds me a lot of like Experimental Kraj, and it also kind of reminds me of the Mimeoplasm, as the Mimeoplasm is a very, very popular commander, and it utilizes a lot of the same type of cards to fill up your graveyard or hand, and then have some neat little combos. So again, I think that this card is going to be the kind of the sleeper. It's going to have a lot of players building completely around this card. And if you actually go over here and look at the deck list, nothing synergizes. There's very few things that actually synergize in the Wizard deck with this particular card. So as you can see with the Wizards, most of them still are trying to go I actually don't like the Wizard deck. I think they just like try to throw too many things that just say Wizard on it, and it just leads to a very, very weird deck list. So the ones that it does synergize with is like Niv Mizzet, the Firemind, Arcanist the Omnipotent, Ethereum Horn Sorcerer to a point, but there's not a lot of activated abilities here. Havigul Edge, Merkle Chemistry gives you a decent like start, but then it's all over the place. It reminds me kind of like the white-black deck where they try to do too many things. The one that had the Karlov and the Daxos, and just led to a lot of people kind of not purchasing that deck as much, just because it was trying to go too many different directions. And I think that's kind of the way this Wizard deck is going. But the cool thing is it does have this start of the pieces, and so people are gonna maybe get bored with the Inala and then not go into Wizards Tribal. And I think the next route they're gonna go is definitely into the Marcel the Pretender, and it gets really, really cool with this deck because a lot of the cards are at the bulk rate, and there also is a few reserve list cards on this list that I think are worthwhile to invest in. So anyway, a lot of these will be on my top 10 list of cards you should invest in from Commander 2017. Hopefully we'll get that out by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometime in that vicinity, and then you can start speccing into those cards. But Mairsil I like a lot because you can see a lot of these cards. Look at it. Aetherling, which has never had a reprint, is a bulk rare, 35 cents. We also have Torchling, which has had a recent reprint, but is a bulk rare you can pick up for nothing. And then 1,000-Year Elixir did not get another reprint, and I think this card's really, really good because it does have a ton of synergies with many of the cards in this deck, especially some of the cats have some activated abilities. And so 1,000-Year Elixirs could be just thrown in the cats deck, since you might get some more demand just from that. 1,000-Year Elixir, though, is a very, very heavily played commander card. If you can see here, it sees playing over 7,000. Once you hit the 7,000 mark in the EDH rec for played in commander decks, you know it's a juicy card that is going to go up in value. And if it hasn't had a reprint, it's going to go up. And so I really like that particular card. Tree of Perdition's another one. The disc does come in the deck, which is going to be good. And then Training Grounds is going to get another spike from that. But it's cards like these Aetherlings, these Torchlings, these Hate Flayers, these type of cards that I highly, highly suggest that you start picking up, because I think this is going to be very similar to both the kind of Locust God and Scarab God, or Locust God and Scarab God from Our Devastation, and then like cards like Hapatra from the previous set, where cards just slowly, like it'll be like 1 or 2 per week, get bought out and price spikes. So you want to get ahead of those. And so Aetherling right now, Aetherling, Morphling, you can see the 8 decks that have been registered in EDH Rec. This is brand new. This is going to go up. Be looking at this card. This is going to exponentially grow once these sets are released and people start brewing around them. And you want to start finding these synergy type cards that have the most showing and pick these cards up. I don't think that there's enough Aetherlings out there to meet the demand of the Mairsil the Pretender, so that's a very, very good pickup. I didn't put it in my top 10, but I did mention in my top 10 list that I would have a video just focusing on Mairsil. So if we go down here, what's really cool about this deck, though, is it goes beyond the just the creatures. So if you can give indestructible, cards like the Navernal's Disc is really good with the Marcel the Pretender. Where this card really shines is cards that either enter the battlefield tapped or have a lot of like a punishing effect if you have them out. And so two of those specifically that I want to talk about is Dralnu Lichlord, because Dralnu Lichlord is tough to play in a deck because it says if damage would be dealt to Dralnu the Lichlord, you sacrifice that many permanents. So a lot of people are like, yeah, we're not going to play this commander, we're not going to play this commander deck just because of how vulnerable it is just for my entire board to get completely destroyed. But if you actually look at the ability, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback until end of turn. That is pretty insane. And so this is a perfect card that you get from Mairsil because it does not have that negative effect. It only gains the activated ability. It doesn't gain the copy of the card. So it doesn't, this damage that would be dealt to it does not affect the card because it doesn't clone it. It just gains the activated ability. So that's a perfect card. It's 79 cents according to Card Kingdom price. Probably a lot less. Again, this is probably a bulk rare price for a card that is out of time shifted and I believe has never had a reprint. So let's just go over here and look at Dralnu. So Dralnu Lichlord, yep, only out of Time Spiral, no other printings. It actually says it's $1 right now. So that Card Kingdom price is actually the lowest on the internet at the moment. So you can see even buy list prices, Abu Games is already up to 40 cents. I think this card is going to be one of those sleeper cards that's going to go insane when this card is picked up. So you can see there's one card in particular I really love because it's a reserve list card, which is, where did it even go? See if I can find it again. Oh, Shock You Endbringer. Here's another card that it has like a negative effect to it if you were just to play it outright. It's 7 mana, so it's really, really tough to cast. Has kind of a weak ability for, you can find other cards that can have this ability for a lot less. It has remove target, so exile target creature and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So the Shock You Endbringer can't attack if there's another creature in play, and then during your upkeep lose 3 life. You don't have to have those negative effects if you just put a cage counter on it and give that activated ability to the Pretender. That is a reserve list card at 49 cents. These are the gold mine. If you can find a reserve list card that is still this undervalued, it is a card that you want to pick up. Next to it, Illusionist Bracers did not get a reprint. I don't believe it got a reprint in this particular. This is a card I've been speccing into for quite a while. This is a card that sells like hotcakes at my store and has never had a reprint from Gatecrash, and it has kind of flattened out. You can see that it had this initial gain from the 40 cents, but it sees a ton of play. Again, we can come over here from Illusionist Bracers, and you can just see the amount of decks it is played in. It hits that 7,500 mark. It sees play, of course, in like staple decks like Krenko and Mael and Varel. It does see play in a lot of newer base commander decks, I believe. I put this in a lot of commander decks in the not so, yeah, Brea. I don't know why people don't like it in Brea, because whenever you activate it, yeah, it copies it. So you can just copy this ability. Brea's just got so many options you can put it in, though. You can see popular staple cards, though, have used it in the past. I use this in a ton of my decks. I use it in, I believe, King Makar. I can't remember if I wrote a King Makar, but Stark of Wrath. Yeah, I'll have to check all my commander decks. This is one of those cards I use a ton of, though. And in this deck, it's really good because then you can copy the effect of whatever. Once you equip the Illusionist Bracers to Mairsil, you can copy all the effects that you start to use. So Buried Alive is another one that I think is going to go perfect in this deck because you get to search your library for 3 cards. You want them in your graveyard. From your hand is not as good. You can run cards like Faithless Looting, Cathartic Reunion, Tormenting Voice, I think will go in this particular deck to get the cards in the graveyard for Mairsil. You're going to run a lot of flicker effects like Ghostly Flicker, I would assume, or any way just flicker this card because the name of the game is just to get as many cage counters as possible. And again, if we can get a judge ruling on this, you may only activate each of those abilities only once each turn. Does this reset if it gets flickered? I'm not quite certain if that's the way that it works, but someone in the comment section rule in on that. But you can see they can gain a lot of cool activated abilities like Gilded Lotus or Basalt Monolith, which is really good because you have the untap portion from the Basalt Monolith, as well as the adding mana to mana. Those are both considered activated abilities, and so you can get the best of both worlds. Does this say untap Basalt Monolith so it can't untap itself with the 3? Since it specifically states that. But there are plenty of other cards that you can exile, artifacts you can exile that does let you untap it. Yeah. Even Mirage Mirror becomes a copy. No, okay, so yeah, it should work that way. So all of these type of cards are definitely going to have a huge price increase. Chainer is a card that I've liked for quite a while. Quicksilver Elemental, here's another card. A lot of people like to run that Quicksilver Elemental because you don't necessarily want to throw it on Marcel. It's just like another card that you cast, and then it gets the abilities of Marcel. You gain all the activated abilities, and I believe that's everything. And does it get around the cage counters? And I'm not quite certain if it does. But yeah, I played decks like the Experimental Mirage in the past, like the Joda's Avenger. You got to think of some of these cards that have uncommons from these old sets are almost like mythics from new sets. Nimbus, if the Firemind comes in the deck, you have phase out cards. So this is a perfect card because the phase out kind of resets the Mairsil. So you can do that at the end, almost at the end of your turn, because phase out at the beginning of your turn, it comes back in. So you can phase that off, it tries to die, and you can then get another cage counter. Cards like Jace's Archivist, there's another bulk rare. This gets printed a ton though, so I don't know if the supply demand will outstretch the supply. Another good card for Deadeye Navigator, did have a recent reprint. But you can start to see there's a lot of cool activated abilities. Ear of the Dead is another favorite. It has such a low supply. This could be the kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back. And you can just scroll down a ton of these. Like, so many of these cards are just crazy synergy with the Marcel. So that's kind of my pick for this week. I know I've rambled on for 17 minutes about basically the same thing, but keep your eye on this particular card. When there are 8, now then a 16 list, then a 24 list, then a 100 list of this particular card, you're definitely going to want to pull the trigger on it, on these cards. Just insane amounts of synergies, and just gains activated, not triggered abilities, right? Yeah, so it doesn't get this cascade ability, but of these particular, there's probably so many infinite loops. I know it does try to stop it with the, you can only activate these abilities only once per turn, but I'm thinking like Sage of the Hour in here, and then gaining every extra turn from then on. I'm surprised that Sage of the Hour is not in some of these lists, because if you remove 5 counters, you get to take an extra turn. And so like Shaka, you can gain a counter there. Is there other ways? There's got to be another way to put counters on the card, and if you can, yeah, that I'm sure there's some infinite combos that way. So I'd like to, I guess that's my challenge for this particular Market Monday video, is to find out all of the synergies possible, all the hidden gem synergies with Mairsil, and see if we can not only break this card, but maybe I'll even do a video, a Commander Spotlight video for this particular card, and be one of the first out of the gates to do a video on it and see what we can do. You see if we can actually have an effect on the market for cards that we pick. But in the comment section below, just kind of jot down the cards that I would say bulk cards. I did say like bulk rares, bulk uncommons, bulk mythics that have a low supply and have a huge synergy. And don't forget about artifacts, because that's very, very important, because Mairsil can actually work with artifacts here. And there's got to be a lot of busted artifacts that work very, very well with this. Is there like a Buried Alive type card? I believe there is in red. Yeah, search your library for 3 artifacts and put them in your graveyard. I swear there's a Buried Alive. It came out of Duretti that will work with it as well. But even if not, there's lots of self-mill type cards to get things in the graveyard. So anyway, that's your challenge for the week. Jot them down in the comment section below. Let's put our heads together. Let's get ahead of this card. It's my pick for the sleeper. All the other cards just seem so meh. I mean, that's what was so good about the Commander 2016, is a lot of those cards were very flavorful. Brea had so many options, so many synergies. It was just a brewer's paradise. Same thing with Atraxa. These other cards, Tribal, we've seen it, we've done it. Yes, they are fan favorites with a lot of people, but they've been done before. A lot of people already have Tribal whatever decks. You know, Tribal Cat, of course, is a new one, but Tribal Vampires has been done before. Yes, there's some cool new cards for it. But yeah. Anyway, comment section below. That's your my challenge of the week. Put those down, and yeah, let's see if we can spike the cards. Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, and be looking forward to the video. It's coming out soon. Bear with me. I'm going to try to jot it down together and get it done be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. We'll have it out. The top 10 cards you should be investing in from Commander 2017. Thanks for watching.